Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here with Scott Hammerly, who is the AAA Diamond Program Director. And many of you may have heard of the AAA Diamond Rating Program for hotels and restaurants. It's one of the marquee programs to tell you all the best places around the world, 5 diamond and 4 diamond. And we're going to talk to Scott about the Diamond Program and especially where it's at today. And we're going to find out about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. First of all, Scott, how are you and where are you?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me. I am at my home here in Central Florida, dodging rain.
There you go. Yeah, well, you have a little, maybe. Well, no, I think it's a little to the west of you is that big hurricane coming through.
Yes,
I
exactly.
was trying to figure out where that was going to land. It just seems we have one of those a week now. I don't know. Now let's talk a little bit about the history of AAA's Diamond Program for hotels and restaurants, if you could.
Absolutely. Well, AAA itself has been helping travelers for, I think it's 117 years. The Diamond Program came a little bit later. It's 80 years, over 80 years that we have been inspecting hotels and restaurants. In the early days, the inspections were really the only thing that people had as they're, if you're going down Route 66 and doing the road trips, there was not a lot of information. Obviously no internet, television in the 40s was just starting to develop.
Sure.
And so people really relied on their triptychs and their tour books to be able to understand and look ahead. I know as a child, we used the tour books to pick campgrounds and everything on road trips. And so it really evolved to provide firsthand knowledge of what people could expect when they traveled.
Right.
And, of course, now most of it's digital, but I think that core mission still remains.
No, it's great, and people have known it for many, many years. But obviously everything changes, and you've adapted stuff. This past January, for example, before the COVID-19 crisis really hit, you unveiled sort of an updated version of the Diamond Program. Tell us what changes you made and why.
Yeah, absolutely. We recognize the need in the current marketplace to clarify the differences between diamond designations and the various travel ratings that are out there now, right? So our designations are obviously from an in-person visit by a travel expert. It's focused on a specific objective set of criteria, which is very different than what you would get if you would just go on and pull up guest ratings. I think both have value, but we just really needed to clarify, make it easier for the traveler to understand that with ours, you're looking at what kind of quality and service expectations you should have from a property, not necessarily what somebody else that may have very different expectations of whether they liked or disliked something from what your expectations are. So what we did is we consolidated what was the 1 and 2 diamond designations into the approved, right? Because a 1 or 2 diamond is in no way equitable to a 1-star or a 2-star, right? The 1 or 2 diamond, they've already met a rigorous set of criteria to say that they're even approved. So we believe that approved piece really helps clarify for people the quality and cleanliness they can expect.
And then the other designations remain. So
yeah, especially the 4 and 5 diamonds carried so much weight in the marketplace and so much history that we really felt like we needed to leave those in place to continue that. Because it's a big deal for an organization to win that 5 diamond.
Oh yeah, I know they often when you release your annual ratings, they're very quick to say what they got, and
absolutely.
when you walk into a hotel, you'll see diamond ratings from several years ago, depending on little plaques. We'll see what happens. But let's talk a little bit about with the coronavirus crisis, you've had to make maybe some more changes to the Diamond Program, and if you have, what are those changes, and what benefit can travelers get from such designations as the new Best of Housekeeping, for example?
Yeah, right now, honestly, we're still assessing the criteria. I think one of the big things is the continuity from year to year of the criteria that we have. So we don't want to make changes that are short term, right? And that we're constantly flipping and people don't know what to expect. So we're really watching to see what are those things that have staying power. And there's no doubt that this is changing people's expectations when they travel, right? they're going to want and expect different things in the future. And that's what we're going to try to assess as we move forward. So once we really begin inspections heavily again, that'll be a key piece. As far as the best of housekeeping, I do believe that in the marketplace right now, that's really the best third-party validation that you can get. These are personally inspected, we validated their cleanliness, and not just that they're doing things, but we're validating the outcomes of that work, right? So we're checking to make sure that it's clean and dust-free and all the things that you would expect, right? And so it's not just process, it's truly those outcomes. It's over multiple years that they have to achieve that high rating, and they can't have had any kind of member complaint back to us. So we really think that's a great standard for people that are looking for that third-party validation of where can I go, where do they take cleanliness seriously when I travel.
Well, it is a challenge because every hotel chain, every hotel seems to have its own set of, they're all similar, of course, these health and safety protocols, but I just stayed in a hotel recently, and then I stayed in another one, and they all have, different criteria, slightly different criteria. So to have one standard that's out there is actually very useful. Yeah. Now, this year, of course, have your inspectors been out looking at hotels and restaurants even during this time? And a lot of places have been closed, and now that they are, opening up, so many of them are open. What are you doing about that?
We are not doing our traditional unannounced inspections right now. We just don't feel that it'd be fair to the operators, and it wouldn't be a fair representation back to our travelers, right? Which is ultimately what our mission is to give that good, fair view of what they should expect. One of the things that we are doing is, getting out there and trying to visit with people as best we can. But there are so many hotels that are understaffed right now, right? And I'm sure you've heard and seen these stories, that we're just trying to make sure that we pick the right time to get back into the marketplace. So when we do decide, we'll communicate very broadly that it's time, but we're going to wait for those staffing levels to return. It's not just about occupancy, right? Because as occupancies rise and staffing doesn't rise to match it, it's actually going to cause more stress and more difficulty for people. And we don't want to add to that, because right now everybody needs to be focused on taking care of their guests, not worried about whether an inspector's going to show up.
So you don't think maybe you're going to be doing that inspections until maybe next year at this point, or?
We're really going to play it by ear and watch. And what we may see is that it's probably going to be a rolling open where, obviously you have some areas, the Mountain West and other places where the case level has been relatively low throughout. So we're going to be very targeted and very careful about it, because we have our inspectors' health to be concerned about as well.
I'm sure. Now, actually, the corollary to that question is, when do you foresee the next AAA Diamond Program ratings going to be released? When will that possibly happen?
Right now, I think it's going to all be dependent on when we can get back out there and inspect, right? So one of the things that we're trying to figure out is how quickly can we move through everything. We do 27,000 inspections in a year, right, for just hotels. So how do we get through everybody to get those ratings or the designations updated, right? Because that's what we feel like we owe to everybody in the marketplace. So I think we're going to have to figure out kind of a tiered system, or rolling it out. One of the things that we're doing, we're out doing these what are called advocacy visits, where we're talking to hotels. Our inspectors are going there not to inspect, just to visit. And part of the process of being there and talking to them is to gather that information and say, what's changing? How are you feeling? What's happening? Are you ready? When would you be ready? How do you feel? And so we're watching that number. It's interesting that 2/3 of the people that we talk to said they could be ready for an inspection today, right? And I don't know if they're just telling us that because they're worried that we're going to hold it against them if they say no.
Yeah.
But that number has actually stayed completely flat throughout the entire time we've been out there for several months now. So, we're going to wait and see that tick up a little bit. We're going to watch those staffing levels. And we want to, like I said before, get back out there when it's fair to both the operators and to our travelers.
No, then that's a good way to go now. But in you talk a little bit about this, but sort of what programs do you have now in place to engage hotels throughout North America as they respond to all these changing guest needs during the pandemic? And how are you engaging with the hospitality industry during this time?
Yeah, we kind of have two different paths that we're going. Some with the people that we have that are key partners, and then, as I mentioned, these advocacy visits. Our inspectors do a great job of building relationships and knowing the properties in their areas. And we gave them the opportunity to get out there and select places that they could go visit. And, we're trying to focus on drive distance only, minimizing overnight stays, obviously, no flights, a lot of things that we're trying to do to support our inspectors. Yet we know that the industry needs that help too, needs that support. And it's been amazing the reaction that we've gotten as we visited these places, that sometimes we're the first person the GM can talk to that doesn't work for them, that they can just vent to and talk about. And their stress levels are high.
Sure.
And higher than normal, right? That's a tough job as it is, and it's higher than normal. With the staffing levels being low, we're seeing a lot of places where the GMs work in the front desk and then they leave to clean a room, and then they're still trying to run their teams. And the inspectors have been a great resource for them to talk to. We can also share what we're seeing and hearing, letting them know they're not alone, right? This isn't just happening to you, and these are things that we may have seen or heard that other people are doing. And then to our partners, we're sharing back some of that information. We're trying to put together some reports for them now about, here's what we're seeing in each of the different brands about the consistency of what people are delivering and what their own people are letting us know, because so many of these areas have had major furloughs, right? And so our inspector may be the best and primary contact that they're having out there actually out in the field.
Well, it sounds like it's a great conduit for best practices and things like that. And, listening to all the GMs and the problems they're having. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to stay in a few properties during the whole crisis, and everybody's doing it. They all have their protocols in place, and it actually is hard for us as press, because a number of hotels that you would think, because they're not as occupied, the occupancy levels are low, although sometimes purposely so, that they would have a few rooms for us so we can go try them out, but they don't want us in there at this time, which is interesting. Not everybody feels that way, but it's been harder for us to go out and, I wouldn't say inspect, but review hotels and do our interviews and everything else. Not everybody is adverse to it, but I've run against several hotels that just said, we don't, at this time, we don't want media.
We've been calling ahead. So, recognizing some of the similar things, we've been calling ahead and trying to schedule these advocacy visits with the GMs to know when's a good time for us to come. And there are definitely some that say, we're so busy, or we don't hear back from them. But, those that we are visiting with, I think because in our case, there's not an inspection on the line and it's just a conversation, that guard drops a little bit. But there's going to come that time where you gotta jump back in, and that's going to be a tough call at that point. So we're feeling similar things to what you are, that's for sure.
No, it's interesting to see how it evolves, and yes, a lot of hotels are opening and reopening right now. It's hard for us to keep track of all the reopenings, let alone the openings, because there are some openings too, which is interesting. Now for my audience of travel advisors, how can they best use the AAA Diamond program to help better understand the quality of the hotels and restaurants that they book for their clients?
Well, I think it's first and foremost knowing that the AAA Diamond designations fill a different and key role from ratings and other things that they might see, right? And getting to know what each of those levels are and what they mean can really help them find the right experience for the expectations of the person that's traveling, right?
Sure.
And that it's going to instill confidence both with the consumers, right, and anybody else that may be booking travel or looking for the right experience for friends, family, professionally, when they're looking for somebody. And this is quality that has been observed and verified firsthand by fellow travel experts, right? And I think that can be one of the difficult things when you're looking in an area. Even, I'm sure you experience it some as you go to travel and you've never been somewhere. Where do I go to try to figure out what's right me, right? And I think that this gives you a great level platform. When you get used to and you understand what it means to be a 3, a 4, and a 5, you can match the experience you're looking for. And sometimes you're looking for that 5, right? And other times you're looking for something that might be what we would call an inspector's pick, which is something that's unique. I don't care about maybe the level, the 3, 4, or 5. I just want something unique. So find me the inspector pick in this area, right? And I think that this gives you a great breadth. It's objective, where you can say, I traveled and stayed at a 4 before. I want that same level experience. And it really allows you to dial in on the quality of service and the quality of amenities that you're looking for.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I guess I'm old school, but I prefer to look at the ratings that you provide rather than go look at the comments on TripAdvisor, which, generally you're not sure whether, and they've tried to eliminate some of the excesses in terms of people who really slammed hotels, or people are just praising hotels to high heaven, and people that were paid to praise the hotels. Yeah. I think they've done a lot to improve that, but I know a lot of people still go to TripAdvisor, but I tell them, why don't you go to AAA Diamond or something if you're really looking for 4 and 5 star, 5 diamond properties. This is a better resource because these are professional inspectors.
Yeah, and the other thing is there's a difference in expectation. I was in the hotel side, on the operations side for years, and the part of it is about how do you share what the room's going to look like, what the quality of the pool is, and that's so much of the pre-travel, pre-booking focus, so that when people show up, they know what they're going to get. Because when there's that disconnect between my expectations and what I see, that's where a lot of dissatisfaction comes from. So with us, right, you're getting that objective set criteria. That's why that consistency over time is so important. Versus with the ratings, if you've got a college kid who's traveling versus a business professional that are traveling to the same place, what they rate is going to be very different because the expectations that they came to it with are very different. And so this just gives you a great, clear, again, objective level setting across the board that's just so much more helpful to me.
Now, is there anything else you want to tell our Travel Advisor viewers about the AAA Diamond program today and what it will be in the future?
I think the biggest thing is there's so much in flux as it is with everybody, and just to know that we're going to continue to work hard to deliver the best critical travel information to both our members and travelers that we have for over 80 years. And we're hoping to make it through the next 20 years and celebrate 100 years of doing this. And that's going to take adaptation. Hopefully, I think there's going to be some things that we're looking to add to the program to strengthen them over the next couple of months that we're not quite ready to talk about, but hopefully when we are, we'll be able to chat again with some very cool additions to the program.
Well, we'll look forward to that. Meanwhile, Scott, I want to thank you for taking the time. I've always wanted to know the background on the AAA 5 and 4 Diamond and the Diamond program in general. I've stayed, obviously, a lot of those properties over the years and dined at a lot of the restaurants. It definitely is an endorsement that travelers can feel confident in, and travel advisors for that matter, and recommending. So thank you for telling us a little bit about that. And of course, it is a strange year to be doing hotel ratings when you can't even, put your inspectors in them right now until things are a little better. But I'm sure we'll emerge from this, and you'll get your inspectors back in there, and we'll see the next round of diamond ratings coming out very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.